What is up, my fellow jewelers? Today we are making a floating illusion necklace with the pendant. I love it so much. I love the pendant on it, how the three colors match the beads. I love the beads that are floating. I love this style necklace so much. Now, here's the deal. Usually I make really simple necklaces for my channel, but today I went a bit more complicated, but I don't want you to worry because guess what? I'm gonna take you step by step on how to make this necklace piece. So by the end, you're gonna be able to make a dozen of them, as many of them as you want. Now also, if you were inspired by my jewelry making videos, I wanna see your creation. So go to my Des Butler Jewelry Facebook page and send me some photos. I wanna see your creation and celebrate with you and even post some of your creations on my Facebook page as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell to get notifications. But you and me, let's get started. So this is what you're gonna need to make this floating pendant necklace. You're gonna need your tools. I have my round nose pliers, my long nose pliers, my cutter tools. You can use jeweler cutter tools. I like my electrician cutter tools. You're gonna need a pen, a permanent marker, and then to actually, instead of measuring out every time, because this is a very precise necklace, I just measured out already on a piece of paper. So I have my 1.5 inches and then I just have my 1 inch. And so I just use this over and over for this necklace instead of using a measuring tape. And then for the material, you're gonna need wire. The biggest, thickest wire I could find was a 0.45 millimeter at Walmart. And so that's what I got. I cut them into two lengths already. So I have my 14 inch and my 15 inch. Whatever length you decide to use, just make them 1 inch apart. And then I have my pendant. I'm so excited about my pendant. Now my pendant was an earring. I love going to Walmart during like when they have winter sales or summer sales and buying their dollar earrings and turning them into pendants. So this was an earring that I'm turning into a pendant today. And then I have 4 split rings. I have a lobster clasp. I have a chain. You're gonna need about 3 inches to 5 inches. I'm gonna use about 5 inches today for the adjustable part. And then of course your beads. I have about 20 beads. And because it's a floating necklace, you need 2 crimping beads per bead. And so I'm gonna need 40 crimping beads for all my beads, but also I need 4 crimping beads to attach the strand to the chain. And so I'm going to need about 44 crimping beads total for this necklace. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my longest strand. I got to see which one is my longest strand. I want my 15-inch strand. I want to do that first. So I'm going to grab my 15-inch strand. And as you see in this pattern, like I've already had my pattern out for my beads. I'm going to do my longest strand first. For the longest strand, I want these 2 beads in the middle. I only want them 1 inch apart. We are starting in the middle of the necklace. Usually I start at one side and go to the other, but for this particular necklace, we're going to start in the middle. And so I am having them be 1 inch apart, and these are 1 inch apart, these are 1 inch apart, these are 1 inch apart. So all these beads along here are 1 inch apart. Now for your second strand, the shortest strand, the first beads, the beads in the middle, they're 2 inches apart. Why? Because I want to stagger them. I like to stagger. I don't like the beads all clumped together. And so I'm staggering these beads. So these are the only 2 beads that are different length apart. Other than that, so these are 2 inches apart, but the rest is 1 inch, 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 1 inch. Okay. So pretty simple. I'm doing the math for you today. So go ahead. If you need to rewind and listen to that again, go ahead and do that for the video. That's the nice thing about videos. So I am going to find the middle of my 15-incher. Find the middle and I'm going to mark it. I want to mark my middle so I know where my pendant's going to go. Okay. So I marked it. You can do a small mark. Not everybody's going to see the mark. Most people are not going to see the mark. You're going to know it's there, but most people won't. And because these are 1 inch apart, then from the middle, I'm only doing 1/2 inch, right? Because 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch makes a full inch. So I'm doing 1/2 inch, okay? And so I've marked my middle, I've marked my 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to grab my first crimping bead and I am going to put my crimping bead on and I'm going to not crimp the middle mark. I'm going to crimp the one that's 1/2 inch to the right of it, okay? So I am going to get on my mark and I'm going to crimp my bead, okay? Do you see that? And I'm going to take my bead, my first bead that's in the middle, and I'm going to put it through the wire. I'm going to take my next crimping bead. I'm going to put it on, and then I am going to crimp it as close to the other crimping bead as possible. I don't want any movement from the bead, and so I'm gonna put the bead on as close as possible. Okay, so we have our first bead. Do you see that? We have our first bead. And now I'm just gonna keep going this way. I'm not going towards the middle. I'm going to go to the end of this strand, and I'm going to measure. So this is about 1 inch. I'm going to measure from this crimping bead, the closest crimping bead, and I'm going to measure it to the next crimping bead. Because we want this to be, if it's a floating necklace, you want it to look pretty precise, unless you like a very random necklace, which that is not a bad idea, but I really like precision. I like pattern. I like things to look uniform. And so I am making sure that my necklace looks very uniform. So I am going to grab my crimping bead and I'm going to put it on the mark, and I'm going to grab my next bead, put it on. Yeah, this is looking good. And I am going to put my next crimping bead on, and I'm going to crimp. Sometimes it's hard to get really close because a bead is so snug. Okay, next to it. Haha, yes. And I am going to go until I have about 1 inch. So I'll mark that. I'm gonna mark the end of my strand, and I'm gonna mark about 1 inch. You don't want any beads or crimping beads past this mark because you're gonna use it to attach to your chain. Okay, so go ahead and go all the way to 1 inch just before the end of the strand and keep going your pattern. So you do 1 inch, crimp it, bead, crimping, 1 inch, crimp, bead, crimp, and so on. So go ahead and do that. All right, I'm not gonna lie, if it's just about ready, if I could put another bead there, I will make this a little less than 1 inch. So I need a full inch up there, and so I am going to make this last bead not be 1 inch from this bead. So I'm going to take this, I just need a little less, yep, about right there. I'm gonna have it be a little less than 1 inch. I'm gonna take my last bead that I have. Oh, this is gonna be tight. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be tight though. It's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be tight. I'm gonna take this crimping bead and I am going to crimp it. So now we have this side done, right? And now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on this side. I'm going to do it on this side. So I'm going to measure. I'm just going to start it off with you, and then you can go do it yourself. So I'm going to take my middle. I still have my middle mark, and I'm going to measure about 1/2 inch. Measure about 1/2 inch. So I marked it for my bead right. For the 1/2 inch. Now my pendant I can put on anytime. I can put it on now, I can put it on later. My split ring is what I'm going to use to put it on. So I'm going to put it on when the whole thing is finished. If you have a pendant that you can't put on at the end, then you need to put your pendant on now. You need to put your pendant on now. But I don't have to, so I'm going to keep going with my pattern. I'm going to take my bead and I am going to go not to the middle, right? This is the middle, but I'm going to go to the 1/2 inch away from the middle, and I'm going to start all over again. So go ahead and make the rest of this strand. Okay, so I finished the first strand, the longest strand, right? We're going to put that to the side. And now I'm going to make my shorter strand. I'm going to, again, fold it in half. I'm going to find the middle, just like I did with the other one. Okay, found the middle. This one I'm not going to do, I'm going to do a little bit further apart because I want them to be staggered, right? So I have my 2 wires. I'd like it to be in between these 2 guys, just under 1.5 inches, just under 1.5 inches. So I found my middle, right? I'm going to actually kind of mark it. I'm going to kind of mark it where I want my bead, my crimping bead. And I'm going to take my crimping bead and I'm going to put my crimping bead on. I'm going to find that mark. So here's the middle, here's the mark, and I'm going to go just slightly closer to the middle with that because I want my bead where I marked it. Okay, about right there. Because again, I want my beads to be staggered. I'm going to take my bead, take my crimping bead. I'm going to crimp it closest to the other crimping bead. Okay. And now I'm going to start doing 1 inch apart again. So I'm going to go this way away from the middle, and I'm going to start this pattern. So I have a pattern and I'm gonna go this way. So go ahead and do that. So I want to show you first and then you can do it on your own. So I'm going to take my crimping bead. I like not marking it. If you need to mark it, go ahead. But I like actually putting my crimping bead here, grabbing my other crimping bead, and then crimping it on the mark where it should be. See, like this is my great measuring tape. And I kind of mark it, and then I'll go to the next one. And so go ahead and do your pattern. You just go and you do an inch apart all the way to the end. Okay, so I've done my one side of this strand. I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm going to grab my crimping bead and I'm going to put it on. So grab my crimping bead, I'm gonna put it on. Now I am going to find my middle. I'm gonna take this crimping bead and I'm going to crimp it about where the other one is. Yes. So it looks like a big gap, right? Like, let me put the bead on. Okay, so this looks like a really big gap. It looks like a big gap. Those are in the middle. It looks like a big gap, but here's the deal is that you want your beads to stagger, right? So I have my strands. I want my beads to be staggering, but also when you put your clasp on, it's gonna be pulling down and it won't look like such a big gap because between the clasp and the other beads all coming together, it's gonna look really nice. So go ahead and finish this side with a pattern that you have for your beads, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm putting on my last bead on the strand, and then we need to combine the two strands together. So there we go. I put on my last beads. I have that. Oh, I love the colors. They look so cute. So I need to measure out my chain. I'm gonna measure out my chain. I'm going to do about 5 inches. Cut it to about 5 inches. So the first thing before I attach this to the chain is I want to put a split ring on it, because a split ring, it just stays on better. Like it doesn't fall off the chain. The chain has a little gap in there, and so I like to put a split ring on there. So I'm putting my split ring on. Yep. Putting my split ring on, make sure there's no gap. I'm gonna put my other split ring on the other side of the chain, so just the last link on the other side. Close up your split ring. You take your long nose pliers, your round nose pliers, because this one's going this way and this one's going forward. So here we go, and I'm gonna put them together. Make sure there's no gap. So now it's time to start assembling we can do the long one first. So you're gonna put 2 of your crimping beads on, one to have it be attached to the chain, and one so it doesn't poke the person wearing it. So I have my 2 crimping beads, I put my split ring through, and I'm gonna put my wire around the split ring. This is why you need about 1 inch. So you have enough to put it on your chain. I'm gonna put both of my crimping beads through, but I'm going to crimp the bead, the crimping bead that's closest to the chain first. So I'm gonna crimp that first. Okay, I'm gonna crimp that first. I crimped it, and now I'm gonna put this crimping bead at the very end of my wire. And you're like, well, Des, just cut it and it'll be fine. Actually, when I cut it, it actually slips off a lot easier. And so I am going to make sure this second crimping bead goes on to the very end of the wire so it's holding it and it won't poke anybody. Do you see that? So now it can't poke anybody, which is great. And I'm gonna attach the other side and do the same thing. So go ahead and do that. So I have attached this, just for the sake of making it easier to attach the other strand, I am going to cut my chain down the middle, okay? So now I'm gonna put my other strand on, and it needs to be in the middle. So it needs to be inside. So however I put this strand on, so this is gonna be between this and this, I need to do the exact same on this side so that they're not crisscrossing, they're not interwoven, they have their own lane to be in. So I'm gonna take my crimping bead, I'm gonna put my 2 crimping beads on. I need 2 crimping beads on. Take my crimping bead, take my other crimping bead. I'm gonna put it on this side. So do you see, I have 2 crimping beads, my split ring, and my wire. I'm gonna put my wire around. Yes, this is gonna be so cute. Okay, put it through, around, okay? Put both crimping beads on the wire that's back around. And I'm gonna crimp my first crimping bead closest to my chain. And now I'm going to get the other crimping bead and crimp it right at the end so it's protecting the person wearing it so they don't get poked. Okay, it's coming together. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on this side. So I'm gonna make sure that it is on the same side, it's all the same, so I'm not crisscrossing. If I go like this and I twist it around, then it's gonna stay twisted. But I'm gonna make sure that it is exactly in the same position as I did on the other side. So go ahead and do that, get your two crimping beads. Yes, come together, yeah. Okay, so cute. I'm going to put my clasp on first. So what you're going to do is you are going to take your split ring, you're going to open it up. So you're going to take your long nose pliers, your round nose pliers, and you're going to pull them opposite away from each other. And then, so it looks like this. And then I am going to put my lobster clasp through. I am going to put it on the last link on this side. And then I'm going to close it up using the same technique. So my long nose pliers, my round nose pliers, but I'm gonna pull them together. I'm gonna bring them together. Yes, make sure there's no gap. So we have where we could just wear it. Oh my goodness, you could just wear it right now and not even put a clasp, but we made this thing for a class. We were specific about making it for a class. So now I'm gonna take my last split ring. I am going to do the same technique. I'm going to take my long nose pliers, my round nose pliers, I'm gonna open it up. I'm going to put it through my pendant, my earring, and then I'm going to take both strands. Do you see this? I'm taking both strands where they need to be, right? So these two are the middle beads. These two are the middle beads. Put them right together, and then I'm going to close up my split ring. And there you have it. You just finished. Oh my, you see how these beads are perfectly spaced out? How this bead's between these beads, this bead's between these beads. Oh my goodness, it is so perfect. I love it so much. Oh my goodness, do you see this? Do you see how cute? Do you see how cute this is? This is a cute necklace. Now, I know it's a little bit complicated, but I did promise what I said I was going to do. I walked you step by step by step, and we finished it together, my fellow jeweler. So thank you so much for tuning in. Before I leave, I want to pray for you. I love praying for my viewers. I felt as I was asking the Lord what to pray for you guys, that some of you just need peace, that there's things in your life that are chaotic, or that you are having trouble with a relationship or whatever, and there just feels like there's no peace in your life. And can I tell you that God can give you peace that the world cannot give you? So I'm gonna pray real quick, and then I'm gonna end my video. So God, I just pray for my viewers. God, I pray for peace over them. God, for those that they're having a really horrible time in a relationship, God, I pray that you would just calm down whatever is going on in the relationship, and you would bring peace, God, in their household, God, where it feels like there's nowhere to turn, it just feels like turmoil. God, I pray for peace over them, God, where it feels like their mind is just swirling, where they can't sleep at night, where it just feels like their emotions are going wild. God, I pray for peace, God, your peace that surpasses all understanding, to guard their heart and their mind in Christ Jesus. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you comment, share, like, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye!